we call sleepy capital is all of the amount of millions of gains in the house or the business or the real estate, whatever. That's just sleeping, meaning, especially if you're living in it, man, you're not Airbnb-ing it. Like you're literally sitting on like a gold mine, if you will, a mini gold mine or a mini oil reserve, but none of the cash flow is coming out of it because it's not an investment, right? So we want to take that sleepy capital, but we don't want to harvest it we want to harvest it, but defer the tax and then invest it into something that's producing 8, 9, 10% plus cash on cash return.
I'm really glad to be talking with you because I've only known about 1031Ks and 1031 exchanges. I've dealt with them, and you're doing something different which I've never heard of, which is an alternative to the 1031s. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I think it sounds very interesting for our clients.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy to, Michael. And thanks for having me on the show. And it looks like you're in New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire is where you're really in central New Hampshire is where you're helping people in Vermont, Massachusetts, Maine.
That's why I have snow.
Yeah. I got family up in Concord and also spent summers. I had some family out in Brimfield, Massachusetts as well. And spent some summers there. Yeah. We focus on highly appreciated assets that people have and don't want to or would prefer not to do 1031 exchanges. So the big challenge with most people who own like a high-end primary home, they've owned for 10, 20, 30 years, the kids are all gone and they want to sell, but a lot of their value of their property is increased drastically. And I'll start with a story. I had a client in Palo Alto, California, who had an $8 million plus primary home. He had 6 kids. They're all out of the house. And he said, man, like I love to sell it, but I have such a huge gain, multi-million dollars of gain. And I have some debt on the property too. And a lot of my capital is locked up and I'd like to have some retirement and some cash flow, but it's really difficult because I live in it and it's not 1031 eligible. And so we built an installment sale with the trust and weaved it into the contract so that he could sell to the trust and the trust sell to the buyer. And in exchange, he gets a promissory note at closing. All of his debt's paid off, and then he could diversify his wealth into securities. Mostly was what he did, like the S&P 500, and then he got cash flow to pay tax slowly over time. So it's an installment sale with a trust. Quick background: I started out at Marcus and Millichap, helping people buy and sell multifamily properties. And before that, building houses in the Bay Area with my family. And so that's kind of my background in real estate. And I just saw the pain of the 2008 crash of people not having great capital gains tax plans. In fact, the people who really got in trouble, Michael, were those who were either 1031ing and overpaying for a property or didn't have a great solution to sell and get out of debt. And that's where we come in. You can sell, you can get out of debt, and you don't have to use a 1031 ever again. And like most real estate agents, Michael, like yourself, who's been doing it for a long time, a lot of us think it's too good to be true. How could this be? How could I not know about this? I've been in the industry for a very long time. And that's really what we teach people. We teach agents like yourself and your clients on how to build these, the quick track record, thousands of transactions now, close to 30 years, and been through about 30 no change audits. We actually just did an automotive sale in Massachusetts for an $8 million automotive business sale because our strategy also works for businesses. It also works for Bitcoin or stock. But for your world, any investment real estate it works for, any primary home, luxury, higher end, 5 million plus homes is really where it really shines. If you have that 121 exclusion where you've lived there 2 of the last 5 years and you're married, that's a $500,000 tax free. That's why we like to see deals that are 3, 5, 10 million and above. If it's a primary home, everything else we like to keep about $1 million and above. So that's in short what we do, and it transforms clients' lives. They really appreciate the ability to have the flexibility that this offers.
Now, how does that work? I've run into situations, someone was bequeathed a property. And of course, in waterfronts, the families always don't want the parents to sell, but they're happy to take it when they pass. Or you have a house that has, my house has, the assessment went up 500% in 3 years. So
or the property tax has gone through the roof, yeah.
Property tax went through the roof, but also I have enough currently at this point of write-offs of the construct. If I were to do a sale, it's my primary home. That kind of stuff. If my house appreciated to $3 million, that's a whole other scenario. In fact, I have a listing that they bought 3 years ago for about 1.5, and it's now at 3.3.
Mm.
there's going to be huge capital gains on that, and especially because
Hmm.
it's not a primary home. Does this work with any like investments,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
anything?
It works for any asset of any kind. So it can be a business, it can be investment real estate, it could be stock, it could be Bitcoin, primary luxury home, it could be artwork and collectibles. We just like to see at least $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain for every asset. If it's a primary home, we like to see 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 million because they typically have that 121 exclusion, which eliminates basically 500,000 tax free for a married or 250 single. So the larger the transaction, the more, in the larger tax states like a Massachusetts, the more beneficial these strategies are.
Now, what about a strategy? Let's say it is a situation where you're bequeathed stocks from your parents. And let's say it was an irrevocable trust. And so I'm told that with an irrevocable trust, you can't change the cost basis.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, let me walk you through that. This is really key to understand what problem we're trying to solve for. And what you're referring to is a stepped up basis versus death tax. So in an irrevocable trust, you're looking at eliminating the death tax. And the death tax is mainly for those now, or if you're married, $30 million net worth. If you're married, 15 million single. So that's a good step in the right direction to get more wealth that's not going to be crushed by 40% death tax. However, the downside to that is you no longer have what's called the stepped up basis. So the rule is you can have a stepped up basis, or it can be outside your taxable estate. In other words, eliminating the death tax, but you can't have both. And so you've got to choose which one. And then we call this having a tax flow mindset, not just a cash flow mindset. And sometimes it's a little bit of both. And so we have two strategies. One that's mainly for deferring capital gains tax. And the second one is for eliminating estate or death tax. So the answer to your question is it all depends, Michael. I would say, what is the net worth of the yourself or your clients? Are you married or single? Is it greater than 30 million? Then we really need to focus on getting it outside your taxable estate for anything greater than 30 million. If you say our net worth is less than 30 million, married or 15 million single, then we really need to focus on either A, what matters the most to you? Do you want to sell and have the cash flow now? Or do you want to hold on and wait till you die for your kids to get a stepped up basis? And that's really the friction, like kind of what you were referring to before. Hey, mom and dad, don't sell the beach house. All this tax, right? Just keep living in it. And they're like, well, we want more cash flow, or we want more freedom, or more. But then when they die, they're like, oh, we'll just go ahead and sell it because now we're tax free and we can walk away with all the money. So you got to ask yourself, what matters the most to you? Giving your kids a stepped up basis tax free, which is it's not a bad answer. Or, hey, let's sell the asset now. Let's defer the tax, especially with our strategy, right? Now, it becomes an installment sale, which means you can't step up a note. You can't step up a promissory note, but the kids can step into the shoes. So I'll give you a real life example, right? We have clients that we go through this all the time and they say, okay, Brett, we have a couple kids, but we want to live right now, right? We want to enjoy life and have diversification, liquidity, the ability to get cash flow that 2 and 3x is the cash flow that we have now. So we can travel more. We can make an impact for causes we believe in more. In other words, we don't want sleepy capital. We call sleepy capital is all of the amount of millions of gains in the house or the business or the real estate, whatever. That's just sleeping, meaning, especially if you're living in it, and you're not Airbnb-ing it, like you're literally sitting on like a gold mine, if you will, a mini gold mine or a mini oil reserve, but none of the cash flow is coming out of it because it's not an investment, right? So we want to take that sleepy capital, but we don't want to harvest it we want to harvest it, but defer the tax and then invest it into something that's producing 8, 9, 10% plus cash on cash return. So I'll give you an example. We had a client and they exited a $13 million asset in San Diego, and they were able to diversify that wealth and increase their cash on cash return. We had another one that was a $2.5 million multifamily property, and this is mostly in Sacramento. They were able to increase their NOI, their net operating income, from 120,000 to 190,000. And so that's really the focus is what do you want? What matters the most to you, Michael? Is it cash flow? Now the kids can step into your shoes upon your death and they can continue the cash flow, which honestly is a great thing to pass on for the legacy. Or is it the stepped up basis, which prevents what you want to do now? And that's where most people are choosing our strategy because they're like, I don't want to wait. I've waited all these years for all this millions. I'm ready to harvest, defer tax, and have my kids step into their shoes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. More of a specific example would be you bequeath a bunch of stocks, let's say Procter & Gamble stocks from 1968,
Mhm.
which was back then $1.50.
Yes.
You try to clean up you have it with a financial advisor and you try to clean it up. And so they're selling some of these old stocks based on because it was an irrevocable trust, which I didn't know was an issue. You can't step it up. Therefore, the tax, so then you get this capital gains that you weren't prepared for to have to pay. And
Yes.
so it seems like this might be a process to help defer that, eliminate it, or something. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in our strategy, we can work with assets that are in irrevocable trust or assets that are in not in trust or in LLCs, S corps, partnerships, all these things. And we work on a conditional basis. We'll look at your fact pattern and we'll find out what options are available for our strategy given your specific fact pattern. I want to go back to one other thing. Tax is big. That's a big piece. It's 20 to 50% of your sales is going to be crushed by the tax, depending what state you're in depreciation recapture. The other part of this is really what do people want? We find that most people really want truly passive income. It's somewhere between 20, 30, 40, 50,000 per month. And it's consistent. It's durable. I call it the Kenny Chesney sitting on the beach playing the guitar, Michael. And it's no shoes, no shirt, no problem. And it's just showing up, right? And you don't have to think about it really. You have to set it up and get it all in place, but it's something that you understand is durable. It's consistent, great track record with either real estate groups or just the stock market, biggest companies in the world. And it just shows up every month and you don't have to trade your time, your talents, your treasure, your risk for it. In other words, it's protected and it's consistent and it's durable. And then you can unlock more time with your family, more time to plan for your legacy, more time to whatever it is that you're looking to do for the next generation. And that's really the piece here. The transformation is the exit of it, but really it's the placement and the cash flow that can make an impact right now for you and your family. And so that's what most people are seeking, right? But they never quite get there most of the time. They're stuck either in the business or, like you said, the stock, and they don't want to pay the tax, or the primary home. And this is where we come in and we provide a flexible strategy to give people what they really want, which is typically truly passive income.
This is the number one reason I think people buy waterfront homes is for their family to come and visit. The number one reason they sell is because nobody came. And then, but in the meantime, the property has like advanced in, which means if I sell a waterfront, it means I sell it twice. So, but the idea is, of course, these people are getting older, and this could be a strategy to creating a retirement income.
Yes.
Which is very interesting because and now New Hampshire it's a great state. It's older people. A lot of people have come here, and there's a lot of very old homes. There's 1,300 lakes here, so you got a lot of waterfront people, and a lot of the waterfronts are second homes. They become first homes, and then people retire. Ironically, by the way, New Hampshire was listed as one of the best places to retire because of, although it was 40th in the nation for weather, which I can attest to right now. But it seems like there's a lot of snowbirds, but it seems like it's a good strategy because people are buying or they're deciding to sell at a time when they want to retire. That would even be
Right.
myself.
Yeah, what they really want is truly passive income.
Yeah.
And we believe that truly passive income is to your freedom and impact as compounding interest is to your money.
Yeah.
It really is that big domino, Michael, that when it's knocked over, everything changes, right? The ability to give more to causes you believe in, the ability to support your family and give gifts to your grandkids, the ability to travel and have more time and energy, the ability to do the things you wanted to do with all the wealth that you've earned and built and disciplined for all the years. But without the harvest and the stewardship of that, the management of that, things fall flat, right? And some of the number one regrets in life are basically not, if you look at people on their deathbed, they're like, you're not doing the things or living authentically to who they were called to be. And that sometimes it means the wealth piece is holding you back. And so there's a time to harvest. Now, we want you to help you harvest and defer the tax so that you can have more cash flow. And there's a time to make these changes. We're way out. I wish we could talk more, Michael. I'm actually up against the wire here.
Yeah,
I wonder if I could just share people how they could reach out and connect with me, if that's helpful.
Yes, no, that would be helpful because it's something that I can automatically start talking about with clients, because it's an option that I didn't know about. 1031s, I can see there's reverse 1031s, there's 1031s,
Yeah.
But there's still limitations, because it's like you have to always buy something.
Yeah.
Whereas it doesn't sound like you need to with this.
Exactly. You don't have to buy, and you can still invest into real estate that's passive, or you can just put it in the stock market and a number of things. But yeah, people want to learn more and schedule a no-cost consultation with our team. We're happy to help walk you through it. You just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also have a best-selling book with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. It's called Build a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. It's the proven playbook for really exiting any asset of any kind. And it's my story as a real estate agent in California, working with families through the 2008 crash, failed 1031s, all the big challenge with that, and then learning about this the hard way. And we want to teach you that. We call it the Netflix version to the old Blockbuster 1031. And you can pick up the book on Amazon, or just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to get started today.
Sounds great. I think it's a very helpful. I was very excited to meet with you, because it was new. Part of our job is to help our clients succeed after. We make our clients more money than we make.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the goal, right? Add enough value and provide a great service. And this is a big way to do it. So I appreciate you having me on the show, Michael, and I hope to talk to everyone real soon.
Okay. Take care. Have a good day.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Waterfront Agent Podcast. I'll be back with some more stories, tips, and expert interviews, and hopefully some humor. So make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.